The White House press secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders is now facing an online backlash after posting a March Madness style bracket that went after critics of President Trump. Now, this was actually not created by Sarah Huckabee Sanders or the White House, just to be very clear on that. It was actually created by the New York Post. And what she ended up doing is that she ended up tweeting this out. Now, this is Mueller Madness. And basically what it did, and I'll show you a picture of that, is that it featured high-profile cable, print, network, and Twitter personalities who are critics of the president. And so let me show you that right now. Okay, hold on. All right, so that's what it looks like. You've got some names like Rachel Maddow, Anna Navarro, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Joy Behar, Michael Avenatti. All these, people who are prominently anti-Trump on Twitter. And so it's a bit of a ridiculous graphic. And in the tweet, Huckabee Sanders said, Mueller Madness, which is the angry and hysterical real Donald Trump haters got it most embarrassingly wrong. Hashtag you decide. Now look, did people get it wrong? Yeah. Yeah, look, if you focused 100% on collusion and you thought that the Mueller report was going to be the thing that brings Donald Trump down, then yeah, you got it wrong. So, Rachel Maddow, the Krasenstein brothers, Louise Mensch, they're just a few, right? So, look, I can understand the White House taking a victory lap, right? But at the same time, is it really a good, smart thing in this environment to make a list of all the political opponents of the president? Social media users thought, no, I don't think so. Mullen Jong Fast says, quote, this does not seem like a very good use of my tax dollars, Sarah. Now, look, again, this was not created by the White House. It's created by the New York Post. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders is using her time as press secretary to tweet this out. Roland Scahill says, just when you thought you couldn't be more unprofessional. Ryan Medina says the tweet will come back to haunt her in about 6 to 8 months. However, look, would she be embarrassed if this does? No, it's doubtful because she has no shame. But it gets a little bit more serious. Now, Jim Brunner says, is this the White House distributing an enemies list? Huh. That's a good question. For me, it would seem so. Again, at this point, it's kind of dangerous at a time when right-wing domestic terror is at an all-time high. You have fascism ascendant, not just in America, but all over the world. And a president who is deeply corrupt, who happens to have authoritarian tendencies, and has no problems going after his political enemies. And look, I criticized Hillary Clinton for having an enemies list in politics and the media. I think progressives happen to be on that enemies list, proudly so. But I can criticize them for that. I can also criticize the other side for also having an enemies list. Let's not have enemies lists. That'd be great. Sean M. Bird says, this is how our government unites a divided country. How deplorable can they be? How low can you go? No one got it wrong. Well, okay, but again, people did get it wrong. Russiagate. It turns out that they didn't find any evidence that Donald Trump directly worked with the Russians. That's a fact. That is in the report. So, look, it is what it is. Nonetheless, still dangerous. And again, if you want to point out, hey, look, Russian collusion is wrong. That didn't happen. So we were right about that. Ha ha. Okay, that's fine. Again, this seems a little bit unacceptable. Susan Hennessy says, how is this an acceptable thing for the White House press secretary to tweet out about members of the press and ordinary American citizens? It's almost as if they don't care about people on the other side. That they are, and this is what this is, right? Stochastic terrorism. I know that's a word that keeps going around, And basically, it's putting out the idea that these people are the enemies in the hopes that someone will go after them, someone who is deranged will go after them. That's what the president is actually really good at doing. And so that's why this is dangerous. Now, Jarrett Belleni says, reminder, you are the White House's press secretary. Shauna said, I know you're bored in those long stretches between press briefings, but can't you take up scrapbooking or something? Agreed. Nick Jack Pappas says, Sarah must have a lot of free time, only giving press briefings every 40 days. Again, when's the last time she gave a press briefing? She's not at all interested in doing that. Adam Rifkin says, be careful, please. Sarah Sanders has punishable by death on her mind today. And that is responding to a Hill article that notes that she, quote, said, they literally accuse the president of the United States of being an agent for a foreign government. That's equivalent to treason. That's punishable by death in this country. Again, that's why it's super, super, like, scary. Because, again, authoritarian tendencies, I am actually kind of worried now that Trump is emboldened by this and is going on the attack against people he perceives as his political enemies. Now, what I think happened, of course, is that there are a lot of people, Seth Abramson, Luis Mensch, etc., that took this Russian collusion angle, focused heavily on it in order to get clicks, in order to get, I don't know, money, donations, clicks, people going to their websites, traffic, etc., right? Or just internet fame. I think that's, people took that collusion thing and they ran with it instead of focusing on what was actually important, the corruption, the deep, deep corruption in our system, right? And look, the Russians didn't have to work with the president to exploit the divisions in this country. They were already there, and they were easily exploitable. And even so, I've said before, I don't think Russian memes on social media had as big of an impact as these, a lot of these Russia gators believed it did, or were saying that it did. I mean, if you look at, how much money Russian operatives allegedly spent during this election on Facebook ads that were critical of Hillary Clinton, and then you actually look at how much the Clinton campaign spent on those same ads on Facebook in that same medium, the amount that Hillary Clinton spent was vastly larger than the Russians. So who had more influence? Money buys influence, of course. Money buys ads. And, if you're arguing who had more influence on the electorate, I would say Hillary Clinton had more influence on the electorate because of how much money and how much she spent. So that's what I believe on that. But back to the tweets here. Pete Souza says this is a sick and disturbing tweet by the White House press secretary. And Kim says, finally, go home, Aunt Lydia. You're drunk. A good reference to the now I'm forgetting the name of that show where she's from. It's right here, but you guys already know what I'm referring to, likely. So, anyway, what do you guys think about the Mueller madness graphic? Do you agree with me? Is it fine, or should the White House be able to use this to gloat over the Mueller investigation conclusion, or does it overstep a line having her tweet this out, going after reporters at a time where Trump basically calls them the enemy of the people? So let me know in the comments, and I look forward to reading them. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, You know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.